Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to serve our community. Thank you for each council member and each staff member here in the meeting tonight. We thank you for each of our residents who are here. And God, we just ask that you help us all tonight work together to make the decisions that are best for our community. We thank you again for the opportunity you give us to serve. And God, may all that we do please and glorify you. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right. I'm not feeling like this is working hardly. Is it okay? Because you can kind of hear each other even without it in this room. But anyway, and we've got a few folks on Zoom, so we want to be sure we all use our microphones. I'd like to welcome you again to tonight's regular meeting of the Springdale City Council. This is Tuesday, June 28th, 2022, and we will start off by having our city clerk call the roll.
Mayor Sprouse.
Here.
Brian Powell.
Here.
Amelia Williams. Jeff Watson.
Here.
Mike Overton.
Here.
Mike Lawson.
Here.
Kevin Flores.
Here.
Randall Harriman. Mark Fujarus.
Here.
Ernest Cate.
Here.
All right, thank you. And we do have Colby, Anna, are there large print agendas up there? If that would, if you didn't get a copy of the agenda, or you did and you'd like one with larger print, well, feel free to get one of those. So we called the meeting to order. We've had the roll call. We do have a quorum, and we're at item 5 on the agenda. This is the portion of each meeting, each council meeting, that the council sets aside to hear comments from our residents. If there's anyone that would like to address the council, we ask that you go to that podium right up in the center there in the back. Please clearly state your name and address and keep your comments brief. And understand that the council won't take action on anything you bring forward tonight. Is there anyone that would like to address the council considering an item or discussing an item that is not already on tonight's agenda? Okay. Feel free to go to the microphone there.
Yeah, I've been appointed.
Okay.
My name's Todd Setzer. I live at 308 East Lakeview Drive. And just here in recognition in regards to the speeding on Lakeview. And I know everybody, we've had police out there now for some time. And just recently, I guess just being out in the front yard in the morning, you know, lots of passing on the double yellow. The latest 2 times was uphill, even towards Turner. So, and I don't know what can be done traffic-wise. There's a couple of notes here in regards to speed cushions. You know, if that's an option. But I think the police are there monitoring that from time to time. You always miss the fast drag races when they're gone. So that's for consideration, you know, maybe a plan for that.
Okay. You're right. We're kind of at a loss of what to do about it, honestly, besides stepping up patrol. I know, Frank, we put the speed trailer out there sometimes, and that monitors speeds. Have we done that lately on Lakeview?
I don't think so. I've seen it on Turner.
Does that that records speeds and gives us an idea, doesn't it? Why don't we, you know, lowering the speed limit doesn't do any good. If people are going to speed, they don't care what the sign says. So to be realistic about it. So Frank, can we work with Todd and some of the neighbors out there and see if we can step things up and try a few different things? I know that we've done a few speed tables in a different neighborhood, and to kind of test them out. I know that we don't like those, and we've gotten a lot more complaints than we did the people who lived on the street wanting it slowed down. So that's kind of the way that goes. But let's just work with them and see if there's something else we can do to help help get people to slow down through there. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Anyone else? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Hi, I just want to add, my name's Susan Bernard. It's 204 East Lakeview Drive. And I know that the city of Fayetteville had an initiative. It's called a traffic calming. And the reason why they use the speed cushions is because they don't impede the emergency vehicles. And they're also good for drainage, and they also, bikes can go around them. So that's just something I wanted to throw out. I mean, even if we had one, it's just not safe to even cross at any time. So that's one of the things I would love if we could look at that or consider.
All right. Seeing who's here. James, do you know what she's talking about when she talks about speed cushions? It's just, yeah. Just a nicer, gentler name for it. Yeah, okay. We can look into that. There are other traffic calming things that, what we know works is to narrow the lanes down. That works. That slows people down. But that can be quite a project. So, and then sometimes the residents don't like that either. So we'll look at those speed tables and see if there's something else we can do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jan Shaddix, 310 East Lakeview. I live next door to Todd Setzer and 2 doors down from Suzanne. And I appreciate you hearing us again on this issue. Thank you, Mayor. Had a little meeting with the mayor and the police chief and with Derek Wright, and we've addressed this issue with you all. And I appreciate that we do have a little more police presence there. We could use a police officer there that probably could support the Springdale Police Department with traffic citations on that particular road.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate that you've taken away some of the obstruction on that corner that comes down Powell Street and around that blind corner.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly and truly, all of these efforts have pretty much been in vain. And we need something a lot more definitive there. And there is no neighbor on that street that would object to a speed cushion or some kind of something on the road to stop. Even that flasher thing that you're talking about, that's not going to do any good.
No, but that records for us who's speeding and how much speeding there actually is on the road. So it does help us.
Okay, well, if it helps you to make a decision about how to help us, that would be wonderful. I can tell you I work in my front yard a lot, and there are people on that road that go 60 and 70 miles an hour, and they race each other on that straightaway. It is dangerous to pull out of our very own driveways. So anything that you can do further to help us, we would really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? All right. We'll move on to item 6, approval of minutes. Council, if you had an opportunity to look those over, I would entertain a motion to approve them as presented. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. Procedural motions, item 7. What's your pleasure, council?
Move for A and B. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for A and B. Roll call, please.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson. Yes. Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Carry 6-0.
All right, thank you. Item 8, Lori, are you want to head this off and I'll meet you up there?
We are really, I told my staff one story, but we're really here for another story. And that is because we are, I'll get emotional about it, but we are here to honor Joanne Glass, who's been a city employee now for, well, she's been at the senior center for 16 years. And that she's gone, we have a wonderful staff, but Joanne has always gone above and beyond to make sure that the seniors in Springdale are taken care of through Meals on Wheels and the senior center. They roughly cook over 300 meals a day. And so I did some long math. I know that's going to surprise you, but so in 16 years, she has cooked 1.2 million meals. Y'all, that's a lot of chicken. That's a lot of food. So, but she's just always there to, for all of us and just to go above and beyond, but mainly just to make sure that all seniors in Springdale are taken care of. So when the mayor had the appreciation idea, then she was definitely ours. So come up here.
Are you gonna come up here, Joanne? Is that okay?
She loves attention.
I know, I know, I can tell.
She loves the attention.
Well, I want to sure give you a chance to say something.
I know.
Yeah. How'd she get you here?
I know we were voting on something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, city council, you're voting on something. We need you. Well, you want to say anything?
No, I really don't.
Are you sure? All right. Well, this will be short then. Thank you for all you've done over the time and consider and what you'll continue to do for the people of Springdale. And I've eaten not a million of those meals, but I've eaten a few of them. Yeah, and they're good. Now, when I hand you this envelope, you'll see it's torn right here. That's because when I see an envelope up there by my computer, I just start opening it. And Denise caught me and she said, well, look at the name on that. So anyway, I didn't get inside. I know what it is, but it's a little gift from the city just to thank you for your years of service and for what you do for our city. All right?
Thank you.
Join me in thanking Joanne. Thank you. I think Ernest is getting ready to do item 9.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for the record, there's no math involved in my presentation. So, but we are here tonight to honor an employee in the city attorney's office, Linda Belvedrisi. She is retiring at the end of this month. And as you can see, there are several members of our staff here, past members of our staff, Judge Harper, who initially hired Linda, who is affectionately known as Prosecutor Belvedrisi, because she's worn so many hats over the years. I just want to read a quick statement. She worked for the city of Elm Springs for 3 years, and she began her journey with the city of Springdale in March of 1999, working as a deputy court clerk in the Springdale District Court. She then joined the Springdale City Attorney's Office in July of 2002 as the Victim Advocate Case Coordinator. In 2016, Linda was the recipient of the Peace at Home Family Shelter's Courage Award, wherein she was recognized for her years of outstanding service to victims of domestic violence. There was actually a luncheon in her honor that we were proud to attend. In early 2020, Linda transitioned to the role of administrative assistant paralegal and has done a fantastic job in that role as well. Now she's leaving us for a well-deserved and well-earned retirement. And Linda, get up here. We have a little token of our appreciation for your years of service with the city, which is created by a local artist. And we hand these out way too often. It seems like these days we have people who've been here a long time leaving us, but we want to thank you for your years of service with the city. We wish you luck on your retirement. And I don't know if Judge Harper wants to say a couple of words. I expect he probably does and probably should. So.
Overton's already admonished me not to go long. So. I hired her in July 2002 when I was city attorney, and one of her duties was to call every domestic abuse victim in Springdale, whether the offender was arrested or not. And she flourished in that job, did an outstanding job, and led to the award that Ernest talked about that she got from the Peace at Home shelter. I can't think of enough what she did for me for the 10.5 years she worked for me, and I hope she has a good retirement.
Good. Thank you, Judge.
The only thing I want to say is it's been great to have two really good bosses. And I can't wait to join the seniors at the senior citizen. Yay! I turned 65 Saturday. Woo!
I want to say one last thing for the record, that Dixie and Linda probably love the temperature in this room right now.
Well, if that's why it's so hot in here, I'm glad you only retire once. All right, Jamie Vernon from Waste Management, going to bring our quarterly report from Waste Management.
Well, this is the second time I've had the opportunity to address you, and I've followed retirements both times I've been here, so I'm not sure how I feel about that. But do we have is it PowerPoint on the? We have a PowerPoint presentation.
Have PowerPoint? Okay. Mark was in here just a minute ago.
It wouldn't be that important, but all of my numbers are on there, so I can't recite those. But we talked about last time we were here that we wanted to do a quarterly report to the council, just to update you on the status and the comings of going of our operations within the city. So that's what we wanted to do. We were going to be brief.
That's what, we're fine. We'll get it going. We find out where it's at.
Yeah, we had sent out, it was attached to the agenda that she had sent out. I do not. I can email it to you.
Yeah, we have it in our packet.
Well, while we're waiting, I can remember a few of the numbers. One of the things I was going to talk about was, I know that recycling this past quarter, we picked up 1.2 million pounds of recycling within the city of Springdale. And one of the things that we've noticed, recycling and regular trash, is that the city of Springdale itself and your residents have done a really good job of cleaning up the material from around the curb. The majority of them are keeping their contents in the cart. So while Casey's group is doing just a bang-up job, your residents are too, and so we're really appreciative of that. So last couple weeks, I've heard that we're doing better, but the city is doing great as well. So we really appreciate that. One of their questions Mr. Powell asked was, would we pick up a large, cardboard box next to a recycling container? And the answer is yes. And one of the other things that I wanted to talk about in relation to that was we've updated our customer service information. So when someone calls and they call into the customer service, there's for all of our entities that we work with, counties, cities, what have you, they have the information for each contract that they can read off. And yours no longer says cart contents only, but we will ask that they place additional items on top of the can. If it's on the ground, we're going to pick it up and get out of there as fast as possible. But with those ASL trucks and the automatic side loader, we'd love for them to be able to just sit an extra bag or two on top. We'll throw it into the truck and then we'll get out of there and keep everything clean.
Is it better to close the lid and place extra things on top that won't fit inside, or are you better off to have the lid open? Close the lid first and then
Yeah.
put other things on top? Okay.
I've done it both ways at my house. I've probably done it wrong, but
Okay.
yeah, so close,
There's no
close
right
lid.
way.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that is just fine.
Recycle-wise, one of the other things that we've been doing, along with Mayor Sprouse, is participating in the NWA Council Working Group. They're working to regionalize recycling for Northwest Arkansas, and I'm sure many of you are aware of that. And we recently joined the council so we can have a greater impact on what they want to do recycle-wise. And we want to make sure that we communicate, and we're going to continue to communicate with the mayor to make sure that we're addressing the city of Springdale's needs when we're discussing what the council wants to do as well. Because you guys are a very big piece of that puzzle. So anything that we want to suggest, it'll be in the best interest of the city of Springdale as well.
Good. Looks like we're about to get it there.
Well, here we go. Oh, Nick Winnie's in control.
Hey, Colby, are they gonna, okay, there you go.
All right, so I'm Jamie Vernon, and this is Casey Russell. I'm gonna turn it over to Casey, let him discuss the operational numbers.
Thank you, Jamie. It's nice to see all of you again. This quarter, there was growth. Same amount of trucks in the city. Same amount of customers being serviced with the exception of 111 new residential trash carts were delivered. That is something that we didn't have on there last time that we wanted to add. This time is the amount of growth per quarter for residential services. And then also the amount of repairs that we've done to the containers as well for the quarter. 98 trash carts were repaired, wheels, lids, replacements altogether. On the residential side, there were 2 property damage claims. Okay, and we believe in full transparency and making sure that you understand what we have going on and that we make sure that we're being as safe as we can with our business and making sure that you're aware of what's going on in the city with us. So one of those was 2009 Bluebird. It was an ASL trash cart was placed too close to the mailbox and the mailbox was damaged. We replaced that. Waste Management paid for that. And it was repaired within, I believe it was 26 days because it has to go through our insurance company. But we did get that taken care of as quickly as we possibly could. Winsworth Avenue, there was a cable line that was sagging too low. It was directly 2 days after a storm that we had. ASL truck pulled the cable line down, detached it from the home. The cable provider actually did the repair on that due to the low-hanging wire not being Waste Management's responsibility to maintain. So that was fixed and repaired by the cable company. Commercial, same as before. No new business added for the quarter for commercial inside the city. 0 accidents, injuries, no property damage claims for those types of trucks. Industrial, we actually added 20 more customers, which is the roll-off trucks inside Springdale. Those were actually existing accounts that had their own growth for the quarter that required more containers for service. And then that line of business also 0 accidents, injuries, and no property damage claims. Any questions about that? Anything? Okay.
And I've already touched on most of this recycling page. I think we can move on from that one. Obviously, you dispose your bulk waste at the Eco Vista landfill. There were 228 loads, equaling out to 659 tons of bulk waste, and it totaled out to $19,621.80. And that's from this quarter through June 22nd. I ran out of days to calculate prior to this meeting. Another thing we wanted to touch base on was we were able to set some containers out for the tornado cleanup. We provided 10 boxes total with about 300 yards of debris the city was able to move out from tornado damage. And then WM volunteers also parked 2 residential trucks out at the John Tyson School, and we collected residential tornado debris and collected donations for victims. That was all done by Casey's staff as well. They did a really good job there, and I appreciated him doing that. And that was it. Yeah, I touched on everything I had. Kind of threw me going backwards, but that's all I have. You guys have any questions for us?
Questions? All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. That takes us to item 11. We have an appointment to ask the council to consider. I'll go ahead and read it. A resolution approving the appointment of Shane Acosta to fill a vacancy on the Springdale Water and Sewer Commission. And Heath, we've got you down as presenting this, or Chris, anything y'all want to say? All right. Yeah, he could not be here tonight. Paul Lawrence, it'd be the rest of his term, yes.
Yeah, Paul Lawrence, as many of you know, passed away a few weeks ago. And Paul represented the poultry industry for the most part, since they are a significant user of water and a significant part of our community. Shane is the general manager for Cargill. It's the 5th largest employer in Springdale. In addition to that, we won't hold this against him, but he does have a bachelor's degree in vocational education from Louisiana State University, but he's still a pretty smart guy. He currently serves on the Springdale Chamber Board and is just rolling off the board at the Northwest Arkansas Food Bank. He also created and still is in charge of an industry-wide food safety program or food safety conference that a few years ago there were a lot of outbreaks of salmonella, and Shane heads that up, and he's done a really good job with that and promoting that within the industry. He's been named Volunteer of the Year by the United Way of Northwest Arkansas and was also named Industry Leader of the Year by the Poultry Federation, which represents Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri as far as the industry goes. It's an advocacy group. So Shane does reside in Springdale, Arkansas, which is very important. And between him and his wife, Rachel, they have 5 children. And I've known Shane for quite some time, and I think he will represent that portion of our community very well and be a thoughtful and diligent commissioner.
All right, good deal. I have read the resolution.
Move the resolution pass.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All right, roll call, please.
Watson? Yes. Overton?
Yes.
Lawson?
Yes, ma'am.
Flores?
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Carry 6-0.
Shane's a great choice, and look forward to him serving on our commission.
Yeah, and he looks forward to it as well. And like Chris said, he's in Wichita in business, or he would have been here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, we're at item 12. Planning Commission report and recommendations by Patsy Christie, Director of Planning and Community Development. Patsy?
The first item on the agenda is a rezoning request for a 1.99 acre tract located at 2805 East M Avenue. They are requesting to replat this area of a subdivision and create 2 zoning districts, an SF2 and a C2 zone. Planning Commission reviewed this request, recommends approval. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning certain lands from agricultural district A1 to low medium density single-family residential district SF2 and general commercial district C1, actually it's C2.
C2.
And declaring an emergency.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? Anyone in the room? Okay, Denise?
Overton?
Yes.
Lawson? Yes, ma'am. Flores?
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes. Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Lawson? Flores?
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus?
Yes, ma'am.
Powell?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Overton?
Yes.
Both the ordinance mercy clause carries 6-0.
And the next item is the replat of lots 6 and 7 of this Carroll subdivision, creating lots 13 and 14. Planning Commission reviewed this replat, recommends approval. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance accepting the replat of the Tom Carroll subdivision, lots 6 and 7, to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Any other questions or comments from anyone? Okay, Denise?
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Move the mercy clause be adopted.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Both the ordinance mercy clause carries 6-0.
The next item is a rezoning request for part of Collins Cove residential subdivision just off of North 56th Street or 56th Street, yes. This replat or this rezoning is a result of the city asking for the dedication of additional right-of-way along 56th Street to accommodate the widening of this to allow for us to include a new water line as part of this project. So in order to do that, they are requesting to rezone these 16 lots from an SF1 to an SF2. The difference being the original subdivision all had lots that were 80-foot frontage with 10,000 square feet, and these 16 lots will be an SF2, which is 70 foot of frontage and 8,000 square feet. Planning Commission reviewed this rezoning request, recommends approval. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto, by rezoning certain lands from low-density, single-family residential district SF1 to low-medium-density, single-family residential district SF2 and declaring an emergency.
Actually, is that not the one where we're gonna put the water line in the middle of the street?
Yes, yes. We needed the additional right-of-way. They dedicated the right-of-way for the original as it met the master street plan standards, but this is additional that's needed so that water line can go in there.
Move the ordinance pass.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any other comments or discussion?
So, if we could go back to that slide, are you controlling that, Patsy?
Uh-huh.
Nope, not that one, the one in the middle, I guess.
This, the one in the middle?
Yeah, there.
Okay.
So, quite a bit of land surrounding, not surrounding, but close to proximity is already SF2.
Correct. And it's only these 16 lots that's adjacent to the street improvement so that they could go ahead and subdivide those into smaller lots and be able to keep, I think it's close to the same number of lots. I'm looking for, yes, okay. It allows them to keep the same number of lots they had in the subdivision when it was all SF1, and now it's just SF2, and it's a difference of a 10-foot of frontage and 2,000 square foot of space. We have lots of SF2 all over town. Most of the area around that, as you see, is zoned SF2.
Any other questions or comments? Anyone? Okay, Denise?
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Move the mercy clause be adopted.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
Yes, ma'am.
Powell.
Yes.
Both the ordinance mercy clause carries 6-0.
The next request is to rezone a 1-acre lot located on Highway 112. It is part of the old Elm Springs Heights addition that was annexed into the city. They want to split this lot. It doesn't have anything built on this side. Planning Commission reviewed this request, recommends approval of the rezoning request. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, the plat pertaining thereto, by rezoning certain lands from agricultural district A1 to low-density, single-family residential district SF1 and declaring an emergency. And you can see that that's the portion that would be rezoned as SF1 of that entire tract.
Just that portion, that's all they're wanting.
Right. The rest of it will stay A1. And it meets the requirements. It was annexed into the city. So it's a,
Yeah, and just to
Non-con-
make sure there's not gonna be any issues when with 112 expanding and this being that?
Well, they were made aware that there is the possibility, the highway department has not contacted them yet. And we can't tell them exactly what the requirements will be, but they are aware that the fact that 112 is being widened.
But there's no liability for us if there's any, I don't
No.
foresee any, I'm just.
No, they'll just have to go through the acquisition process that they go through everything else. Yeah. But we did make them aware that it was coming
Move the
through.
ordinance pass and approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? Anyone? All right, Denise?
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Move the merge clause be adopted.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Both the ordinance mercy clause carries 6-0.
The next request is a request to rezone 120 acres located about 3/4 of a mile south of Don Tyson Parkway at the end of Hilton Road. The applicant is requesting to rezone this from SF2 to SF3. Again, an SF2 is a subdivision that has lots that are with 70 foot of frontage, 8,000 square feet, and SF3 would be a lot size of 60 foot frontage and 7,000 square feet. Planning Commission reviewed this request and recommends approval of the rezoning request. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto, by rezoning certain lands from low, medium density, single-family residential district SF2 to high-density, single-family residential district SF3 and declaring an emergency.
Was there any opposition?
No. As you can see, the property to the north of that was zoned as a PUD that has a mixture of duplexes and single-family lots similar size to what they're asking for here.
Move to approve.
So,
Okay, we have
not too long ago, we were, with the, Springdale Water was here, and, we were talking about, hookups on this side of the town. And they were talking about they were going to need to look at doing an expansion. So I'm assuming they know this goes through all the utilities.
Right.
And everything was good on that.
We've had all that discussion about sewer capacity and what it takes. They know what it's going to take to move it forward. And it's my understanding that the capacity to handle this subdivision is available. Now we're getting close to the limits.
Or it will be available, right?
Yes, yes. Now, they still have to go through the subdivision process and submit their preliminary plat, all their utility plans, all of that to show how all this is going to work, and then the utility companies will have a chance to address it. This is just to rezone it to allow for that process to move forward.
They've already made their deposits to the water department, so they're guaranteed their water.
I believe that's true. I don't get into that kind of stuff, so I assume that they have, or they wouldn't be going this direction.
Water department's well aware. They've had
Mhm.
several discussions.
They've had several
so.
meetings.
Did we ever get a second? I don't believe we did.
Second.
We had a motion, now we've got a second. Okay, any other questions? Okay, Denise?
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
No.
Overton,
No.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Mayor,
Yes.
carries 5-2, and there is an emergency clause.
Move the merge clause be adopted.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Emergency clause carries 6-0.
The next request is to rezone 1.36 acres located at 5119 Elm Springs Road. The request is to rezone the property from Agricultural District A1 to Thoroughfare Commercial District C5. Planning Commission recommends approval of the rezoning request. It currently has a single-family home on it. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto, by rezoning certain lands from Agricultural District A1 to Thoroughfare Commercial District C5 and declaring an emergency.
Move the ordinance pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Are there any other questions or comments? Anyone? Okay, Denise?
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Move the merge clause be adopted.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carries 6-0.
The next request is to rezone 1.91 acres located at 5776 Elm Springs Road. The request is to rezone this property from Agricultural District A1 to General Commercial District C2. Planning Commission recommends approval of this rezoning request. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning certain lands from Agricultural District A1 to General Commercial District C2 and declaring an emergency.
Move the ordinance passed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other comments or questions? Okay, Denise?
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes. Move the merge clause be adopted.
Lawson,
Yes,
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Both the ordinance emergency clause carries 6-0.
The next request is to rezone .19 acres located at 1201 Henrietta Street. The request is to rezone the property from medium-density multifamily residential district MF12 to general commercial district C2. It's had an office on it for several years. Planning Commission recommends approval of this rezoning request. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto, by rezoning certain lands from medium-density multifamily residential district MF12 to general commercial district C2 and declaring an emergency. I don't believe so.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions? Anyone in the room? Okay, Denise?
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Move the merge clause be adopted.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carries 6-0.
The next request is to rezone 7.96 acres located at 3939 South 48th Street. Part of this property is already C2 and it was rezoned C2 several years ago. This will get that narrow strip that goes all the way out to 48th Street, all becoming C2. Planning Commission reviewed this request, recommends approval of the title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning certain lands from agricultural district A1 to general commercial district C2 and declaring an emergency.
Do you know how wide that additional portion is?
Well, it's wide enough to put a street on it and have some room to build some buildings on it.
Any issues with this planning?
No. I mean, they're gonna have issues when they develop it because of the challenges of getting water and sewer to it and the terrain in that area and the screening, but right now we're just looking at it as a commercial area.
Second. Can we at least get that trailer off there?
I hope so. I can't say if they're gonna develop it the way they are looking at developing it.
Any other questions, comments? All right, Denise?
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Move the merge clause be adopted.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carries 6-0.
Okay, the next request is a little bit different. It is a rezoning, in fact, but it's not rezoning because it is amending the district boundaries for the form-based code area. And what they are requesting is to take this area out of the neighborhood residential type 1 district and put it into the neighborhood residential type 2 district. And what that allows it, as you will see, the area to the north of it is neighborhood center type 2, will give them access to a street which will serve as a buffer for this kind of development in that neighborhood. Planning Commission reviewed this request and recommends approval of the amendment to the regulating code for the form-based code. The title of the ordinance reads an ordinance amending Chapter 32 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Springdale, Arkansas, the Downtown District Form-Based Code, revising Section 2.0, the regulating plan, declaring an emergency and for other purposes. And we have changed our procedure. We'll come back, they'll be called form-based code boundary amendments in the future, not rezonings, because we haven't had too many. I think this is just the third one that we've done. And so we've got that process worked out a little bit better now as we move forward in these. There was some concern raised by some of the adjacent property owners on what impact this would have on their property values. We've met with some of them and discussed that. One of their major concerns in this area is the additional traffic that's on Crutcher Street and Mountain View with the detours going on now that Cottle has closed, and the square about at Park and Cottle is got the road closed down. So there's a lot more going on in that area than there has been in the past. And that it is my understanding that that project should be completed in the next couple of months.
It'll be August was the
Yeah.
update we got today.
I think the mid-August for it to be completed. So those traffic patterns are going to change. The closing of the Cottle railroad crossing has created a little bit different, and I think if we're able to work with this development as it moves forward, I think we can get an extension of a road through there that moves a little bit further to the east of the crossing on Maple Street, because right now it's really close to the crossing, and I think having talked to some of the owners of this property, I think we can come work some of that out, and I think that gives us an opportunity to enhance not only the neighborhood itself, but the traffic patterns in that area too.
So what's the whole purpose of doing this?
It's to switch it from a neighborhood residential type 1, which is only single families, carriage houses, those kind of things, to a neighborhood center type 2, which allows them to do a higher density duplexes, triplexes, row houses, a different kind of housing in that area, and allows that area to be used the same as that vacant property to the north.
What was the vote of the planning commission?
The vote was unanimous.
So that red area is the section 2.0 currently?
Yeah, it's the neighborhood center type 2 already. You know, when we established those boundaries, we used kind of some arbitrary boundaries at the time, not going into a lot of those. And as we see development occurs and as people look at these areas, we've made a few adjustments, but not a lot of them.
But you're not making this adjustment. This is a request from the property owner.
That's correct. The property owners are the one that's asking to make this change. They see more of a potential to develop this piece of property when it can be the same as the property to the north than its current form-based code district that it's in now.
So that changes it from the property to the south and to the east and to the west.
It only changes those that are inside that yellow block.
I know, but you're saying it takes it to the same as that to the north, but right now it's currently the same as that is
That's
to
true.
the south.
It is.
east, and
You're
the
right.
west.
That is correct. I mean, that's how you get boundary changes made.
Were any of the neighbors there?
There were 2 adjacent property owners that were at the meeting. I have met with at least one. I don't know, Rick, have we met with both of them or just one of them? Yeah, we met one of them to talk about their concerns and what impact it would have. They were afraid we were trying to change their property too, and we're not. It's only these pieces of property. We're not making wholesale changes in the boundary. We're making it the request of the property owners of these properties.
So with the seed, this is the only way that they can do this?
No, this is not part of the C district. This is part of the form-based code itself. They're in that boundary already. They're not opting to do this as part of a C district. They're opting to change the original form-based code district boundaries themselves. Yeah.
So basically, if this was not in the form-based code, say it's outside, this is basically the same thing as taking a piece of property from single-family SF1.
Well, I think all of this was zoned MF2 or MF12 to start with. That's how it got into some of these districts, because it was already zoned as MF12, some of them MF16, because they're really small lots now. These happen to be the three largest pieces of property in that whole area. If you notice, most of them are narrow lots that create a challenge in how you develop those. With single-family homes, with carriage houses, or rear garages, or something like that. So this gives them a little bit, because they're two of them are at least two of the largest tracts in that
So
whole
what can you
area.
do in the, what'd you call it?
I'm
Two?
sorry?
The two, what do they want to go to?
Neighborhood center type 2.
Yeah, so what can you do there?
You can do triplexes, duplexes, you can do townhomes, you can do apartment buildings that are in character with the neighborhood. You know, there's a height limitation because they have to blend in with the neighborhood. That's the advantage of the form-based code, because we can set what they look like and how they impact the neighborhood more so with the form-based code than we could while it was zoned MF12. There are height limitations, there are height minimums, there are build two lines, there's a lot more ability to control what it's going to look like and the impact it has on the neighborhood because it is in the form-based code. And we've been working through it a lot. It has provided some new opportunities for redevelopment in downtown. We're going to continue to see happen as we continue to work through it. Now, we're going to come back with a few changes after this downtown master plan update because we've learned more, and it's things that need to be tweaked, but it is giving us a great opportunity to address the housing development in downtown in a whole new method.
This is a single property owner that owns this?
This is it's a LLC that owns it. And they have been buying several properties in that area. And I can tell you it is a local LLC group that's buying up some of those areas that are really interested in assisting in providing the kind of housing we're looking for in downtown Springdale that will address the missing middle and provide us with the kind of housing we need to support the revitalization that's going on in downtown. We spend lots of time working with these guys and working with these developers, figuring out how we can help address the housing issue in downtown Springdale, because housing is very important for us to continue our revitalization effort. We've got to have people living in downtown. And what we can't have is people being moved out because the prices go up too much.
Some of you may remember, of course, I was very general about it, and I would still have to be because I don't know a lot of the particulars. But when I brought you all in one-on-one, y'all met with me one-on-one, and we've kind of looked around on the maps. I've mentioned this area several times, that the redevelopment that we hope will happen there.
So how did you say you're gonna change your heading from going forward?
It will become a form-based code boundary amendment request.
Yeah.
Because that's technically what it is.
And much like a rezoning is a petition,
Correct.
it's gonna be a request.
Right.
We have no idea who's even asking for this.
Does it not have the property owner's name in it?
It's in the ordinance.
Uh,
Or am I looking at the wrong one?
Yeah, one
Okay.
of the owners.
We got
is
other
here.
owners here. I mean,
Well,
we're amending.
That's not my point. My point is, before tonight,
Mhm.
we can't see it. That's what I'm wondering, if in the future, since it's gonna be labeled a request, much like a petition on a
Okay.
rezoning.
I see where you get it.
Yeah.
The request is by the property
Property
owners,
owner,
but we're making a boundary change. And, okay, I'll make sure that happens. I go through these so many in my mind, I think everybody knows what we're doing, and that may be one of the things that we need to make sure comes through. So it is the request of the property owner.
Right.
Now, when we get finished with the downtown master plan update, there may be some boundary changes that the master plan will recommend that we do that won't have property owners'
Wouldn't
names
be a
on them.
request
But
of the property owner, right? I
Yes,
understand that.
yeah.
But this is.
this is,
Yeah, okay.
that's correct.
All right.
And it's Mountain View LLC, I think is what the name was. I think it's on one of these slides.
Okay.
Yeah, it's down the bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah, if you can read it, I can't read it from here, but
Mountain View Springdale LLC.
yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I knew it was on there, I just didn't, it wasn't in the ordinance itself because it is a boundary change, not a rezoning request. we'll work through all these details, all of these minor things of how we get the form-based code to work. We're getting better at it every day. And we are using it a lot every day.
So Mountain View LLC owns that property just to the north? that
Yes.
they're- Okay.
Yes, they do.
I got you. Move the ordinance pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions? Is there anyone in the room that needs to speak to this? All right, Denise?
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes. Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Both ordinance emergency clause carries 6-0.
The next request is to rezone 2.49 acres located at 2553 North Thompson. The request is to rezone the property from General Commercial District C2 to Thoroughfare Commercial District C5. Planning Commission reviewed this request and recommends approval. The title of the ordinance reads an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning certain lands from General Commercial District C2 to Thoroughfare Commercial District C5 and declaring an emergency.
Our printout says C4.
Oh, well, it's supposed to, you should have an ordinance on your desk tonight that says C5 because it's not C4. It's always been C5. There-
Is that the email Anna sent out this afternoon?
Yes, that's
Okay,
the email
to the
she sent out
council.
this
Okay.
afternoon. Yeah, we caught that after it all
Okay,
got all
thank
the way through. This is a request that came in original to rezone the property to an industrial zone. Staff recommended that they look at a C5 with a conditional use, which you're going to see the conditional use next. They were willing to come back and rezone it to C5. Staff supports this rezoning request, and there is a conditional use that follows that.
What does C5 entail?
C5 is thoroughfare commercial. It allows for more intense commercial activities, and as a conditional use, a limited manufacturing as a conditional use in that location. The property on the other side of the street is industrial, which I've never quite understood that because this meeting center that now UAMS owns is zoned I1. And the Schmeating Produce Place, it's been that way since I started 26 years ago, and I can't explain to you why it's I1.
This is the old KBRS.
Yeah, this is the old
Radio.
KBRS property across the street. They could put storage units in this as a permitted
You're
use in
listening later.
I1, so they didn't have to rezone it. So that industrial is a little bit out of place. And so that I didn't think there was a reason to open up another industrial along 71, which we would have commercial uses along there in the future. And so they were willing to come back and rezone it to C5 and to apply for the conditional use.
Move the ordinance pass. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? Anyone? Okay, Denise?
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am. Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carries 6-0.
So the request that follows this is a request for a conditional use for a use unit 25, which is a limited manufacturing at this location now that it is rezoned to C5. They are proposing to put a place in there that will have bulk storage of oxygen and or nitrogen for filling of medical, industrial, or specialty liquid container cylinders. Individuals can get oxygen cylinders. The medical profession can get them there. That's what they're putting there. They'll have 2 bulk storage tanks you can see on that. This is what the buildings look like. I think they were going with option number 2. I think number 2 is the one that they presented to us as part of that. They still have to come back with a large-scale development plan, so that's what we're going to get at that site. Staff or Planning Commission recommends that the conditional use be approved. The title of the resolution reads, "A resolution approving a conditional use for Elemental Properties LLC at 2553 North Thompson is set forth in ordinance number 4030 for a use unit 25 limited manufacturing." This conditional use is granted to them at that location. It can't be transferred to another owner unless you come back and you extend it to that new person.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any other questions before we vote? Anyone? Okay, Denise?
Powell,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Carries 6-0.
The next request is for a waiver of street improvements on County Line Road for a new subdivision called Oceanfront Estates. And everybody snickers when we hear that. There's not much ocean out there, but that's the name of the subdivision. So
I
they're
could recite an old George Strait song.
So their request was to waive street improvements along County Line Road. Planning Commission is recommending that they make payment in lieu of improvements to this part of East County Line Road. The title of the resolution reads, "A resolution approving a waiver of street improvements, drainage, curbs, gutter, and sidewalks as set forth in ordinance number 3725 to Oceanfront Estates in connection with preliminary plat 22-06." And the Planning Commission is recommending option 3. And I don't know if somebody wants to argue against payment in lieu of improvements or not. Nope. The developer's willing to accept that? Okay.
Move the resolution be adopted, option 3.
You have a motion and a second to approve the resolution with option 3. Any other questions or comments? Anyone? Okay, Denise?
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
No, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
No.
Mayor,
Yes.
carries 5-2.
All right, thank you, Patsy. Item 13, Community Development Block Grant Program, Chairman Kevin Flores. Kevin?
Thank you, Mayor. If someone could turn that mic off, please. I think y'all can hear me now. Before us tonight for the Community Development Block Grant Program is the resolution adopting and approving the 2022 action plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program and the reallocation of the CARES Act funds. And this is presented by Dean Allen, the CDBG Program Manager. And while Dean's on his way up there, all the nonprofits that are here that have requested money, if all of y'all can go up there individually and tell us how the money you requested can impact our residents, and if you also care to, how a reduction in that money would impact the residents.
Good evening. I know last meeting we had, you guys wanted to understand the difference between 13.6, 10%, and 15%. So I want to kind of give you a generalized idea here. So 13.6 is going to be right about $117,000. 10% would be $85,000, $759. This is the total for nonprofits. 15% would be $128,638. Now, just give me an example. Taking this down back to 10%, or staying at 10%.
Give me that figure again, I'm sorry.
Okay.
10% and 13.
Yeah, 13.6%. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you don't have it, I have one. I have a couple. So 13.6%, where we're kind of looking at now, is $117,031. 10%, this is just for fiscal year 22, $85,759. 15% is going to be $128,638. The difference between 13.6 and 15% is right at about $11,000. This could be for like an emergency, a roof, a new HVAC system for a house. The difference between 10% and 13.6% is $31,000. Again, this is probably for a good rehab. So now the difference between 10% to 15% is $42,000. Now, to kind of put this in perspective, if I haven't confused you guys yet, Bread of Life took $24,000 last year and put it out to the community. With that $24,000, they served 100 households and 435 people. So as you can see, you know, $42,000 will help about 200 households and about 800 people. So you can kind of see the difference. So we're just proposing that we move next year, fiscal year 2023, to 15% instead of 10%.
But what we're voting on today is
Correct.
It's
It's a 13.6% for the fiscal year 22.
That's what's requested, at 13.6%.
Correct.
And Bread of Life is included in that?
Yes, sir.
So their $24,000 that they would be granted if this moves
Yes, sir.
forward is affecting 100, how many households?
100, as of the fourth quarter, they just sent me the audit this morning. There was 100 households and 435 personnel.
So 435 people
Correct.
get fed with $24,000.
And 100 households. This includes food banks, includes helping with utilities, with rental assistance, with all of that.
And if you reduce that to, say, 10%, I mean, I don't know if you have the numbers in front of you.
I mean, that'll reduce it to probably 80 households and probably about 300 personnel. Yes. We also have the taxi program that we do. So the taxi program, we've been doing it for many, many years. And typically, we look at the max rate, about $24,000 going to the taxi program. That has gone down a lot. I've been talking to Beth back and forth with this. And that's going to change a lot because a lot of the taxi cabs have basically quit or they're out of business. So we have like 1 or 2 taxi cabs that we're using right now. So that number from 24,000 could drop down to almost like $4,000. So it just really depends on, I'm still trying to get some numbers from that.
Are the ORT vouchers, are they in that same bucket?
I got to double check on that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't think they are.
They're separate from the taxi program? Okay.
I'll double check with Beth.
Okay.
So you were just using Bread of Life as an example, right?
Correct. Yes.
And they, the request for Bread of Life is 24,000.
Correct.
It was 24,000 last year.
They've been doing 24,000 since. Sorry.
Exactly. That's my point. Even when we were at 10%, they were at 24,000.
Right.
In the past, we made tough decisions on what nonprofits we would put in the program, and some didn't make it.
Correct.
It seems now that if we have a request, we put them in there. I'm wondering if we're making those tough decisions now.
So what happens between
So,
January?
because you're arguing that if we lower it down to 10%, Bread of Life would go down 10%. I think that's what you said, you're trying to suggest. But they've been 24,000 even when it was 10%.
And you're correct. We have always asked for our nonprofit organizations to submit their request, whatever they felt they needed.
Right.
Over the years, there's more nonprofits asking for money than there used to be. The 15% cap has always been there. When we didn't get more than the 10%, it was an issue. As we keep going from year to year, there's more agencies asking for more
But
funds.
now, Patsy, you know.
We're not gonna
you
make
know
that
as well as I
decision.
do, we've turned people down to keep it at 10%.
But that's a decision you guys have to make. The staff brings to you everybody that submits an application. If you want to hold it at 15% or 10% or 13.6, we'll make the adjustments. But staff is not going to make that decision for you. You'll have to decide which ones you want to fund and which ones you don't want to fund. What we bring you is everybody who's asked for it this year. And we go through the HUD process, publish it in the newspaper, have the public meetings, we get those applications. We make sure that each of the agencies who apply for it know how to use the money, how to report it, that it's meeting and it's addressing low and moderate income people, because it has to be direct assistance, how they're going to report that to us, and then you get the applications and you get to decide which way you want to move forward with it.
What kind of financial controls do you have over
Financial
these?
controls in that they have to show us how they are using the money.
And what if they don't, what
Well-
if they cannot adequately account for their money? What do
In
you
the
do?
last
It's already given away.
25 years since I've been here, there's only one time we had a problem, and that money had to be paid back to the CDBG program from that applicant
But you
who
have
was
not had this
determined.
volume of asks before.
I'm sorry?
You have not had this volume of asks.
It increased every
before.
year. There are more nonprofit organizations out there providing more services. We have more veterans associations providing services to veterans than we ever had before. We have all kinds of different, but we're not limiting to anybody to say, you can't come and apply. You come and apply, you guys make the decision of which ones you want to fund. It's really that simple. If you want to go to 13.6 and fund all of them, we're ready to go. If you want to cut it down to 10, we'll take an equal amount off of all of them, if that's the way
Or
we
the
want to make
council
it
could
work.
determine how much you take off, not the staff.
I'm sorry?
Or the council could determine.
That's correct. You tell
Not,
us,
not staff
no.
determine they could arbitrarily.
If you say we want it reduced to 10%, the easiest way to do that would be to reduce everyone by an equal amount. Or you can say, we don't want to fund whichever nonprofit you don't want to fund. You tell us which way you want to do it. That's the way we're going to make it work. But we bring to you everything we get. That's the way the process has always worked. That's the way it's worked this year.
Well, the way it's worked in the past is a little different
Yes.
because we used to have a CDBG committee meeting all by itself, not with committee of the whole group. And we would take each applicant and try to determine which ones we wanted to fund. We haven't done that this
Now,
time.
I beg to differ. We had a CDBG committee meeting previously, and all the nonprofits were here.
We
And
we
did
didn't
you
have
guys-
any- We didn't have any documents where they were requesting
No,
what they
you
were
had a copy of
requesting for?
what the summary of each one of the requests were. That was all provided to you at the committee meeting so that you could look at to see which ones you wanted to fund and which ones you didn't. No decisions were made to cut any of those. There was a discussion about what's the dollar amount, but nothing was made. So we've got to move forward. We've got to get our application to HUD.
So,
I have no problem with the time frame. I understand that, but I just feel like basically we're just taking whatever comes in and funding it.
Okay.
I don't see how we're doing a.
So Patsy, oh, sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
We-
Patsy, is it possible that we have more nonprofits applying because our public notice has gotten better? Is it possible that?
Well, we
That-
have worked harder in making sure people know
Okay.
that the money is available, yes.
And so that gets the word
Yeah.
out to more nonprofits.
I mean, we don't just put it in the newspaper.
Right.
You
And,
know,
and
we
there's
just
social media now. That
Yeah,
wasn't the
right.
case. It wasn't, 15 years ago?
Yes, and as you pointed out, it's nationally known that this funds can be used for these kind of activities, and that there is a 15% cap by the
Well,
regulation.
And is it also possible that some of these nonprofits who probably didn't have the capacity to deal with federal funding 10 years ago now do? So now
I
they're,
would
now they're
assume
asking
so.
for it. Okay.
I would assume so, that they've grown enough that they can handle it now.
And
I can't answer that, I don't.
And is it possible as well that, the fact that our city has grown double the rate or double the population in the past 25 years also increases nonprofits serving the city, and
I'm
therefore
sure it
they're
does.
applying for more?
I'm sure it does.
So then likely next year, there might even be more nonprofits asking for more money next year if you do the exact same thing that you do today or this year.
It's possible. I mean, there's no way our crystal ball doesn't work to show you
Okay.
that we're gonna have 25 applicants next time, or we're gonna have 10.
Well,
You know,
and
it
I've
depends on
stated-
what the economy does and what the needs are.
Well, and I've stated this, and I'm beating a dead horse here, but I think this is a great problem to have, in that we have money available to give to these nonprofits that are directly affecting the community, especially during these tough economic times. Where, just looking at this, we got VFW. Are y'all here? All right, y'all help the veterans out, right? And you guys know how to account for your money. Okay, because you got the auxiliary on here as well, right? All right.
Every applicant that you have has been vetted. We know they know how to handle it.
And the one that you had a problem with, are they on this list?
No,
Okay.
and they haven't been for several
Bread
years.
of Life, are you here?
I don't see him.
Okay,
No.
but you have a consistent rate or consistent
Oh, yeah.
reputation of $24,000 and spending.
And
that to
HUD
the
comes
T's.
and monitor. They actually go and visit the nonprofits to see what they're doing. It's not just us. I mean, that's,
not had a finding
Yeah.
Okay.
Since I've been here, I've not had a
Is
finding.
community clinic here? And you're asking for 12,000, correct? And what's that gonna go towards? Can you go up to the mic, please? And Hydration for Life, you're next.
Yes, we're requesting $12,000 for our transportation program, which has been funded over the past couple of years. It's especially utilized now that gas prices are soaring, but it puts either vouchers in the hands of individuals needing to get to much-needed medical appointments, either here in Springdale for their appointments with community clinic, or if we're referring them to specialty clinics outside of Springdale, but they either don't have the money to pay for $5 a gallon gas or don't have a vehicle as well.
So if we reduce that request, say, I don't know, $4,000, is that less people that we help out or that you help out?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hydration for Life, are y'all here?
They are not.
CASA of NWA. Compassion House.
A lot of them couldn't show.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And what's the 20,731 that you're asking for, ma'am? What does that do?
So that program, we have two different projects right now. That program is for, if you know what Compassion House is, we're a home for at-risk pregnant teens in the whole state of Arkansas, but we operate here in Springdale. We have pregnant and parenting teens that come there, and it's a residential living facility. We pay for all of their parenting classes. We take them to prenatal visits. We transport them to school. A lot of these girls are coming from, well, every one of them are coming from either homeless situations or court ordered there. And from being FINS cases to like the I forget the name of it right now, but truancy. And so we take these girls, they stay in our program, and we are getting them off the streets. We're making making generational adjustments and breaking chains. So our program isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And so we are taking girls that would be on the streets, would be living off of the community, and we are turning them into participants in the community. I have a girl right now that just graduated a year early, Harbor High. She's already gotten her CNA license, and she's set to go to LPN school. 1-year-old. She was a dropout and ran away. So we are taking this, and so for the 27,000, that's insurance.
20,731.
Okay, so we operate on about 28,000 a month. So
Okay.
that's going to pay for,
So
you know,
that almost covers
Right.
a month of services.
right. So
And how detrimental would this be if you didn't get this money?
to be honest with you, I would have to go find it somewhere else to
Okay.
keep our lights on.
And how much did you ask for last year?
19, I think. I'm the new executive director as
So
of
ru-
fall.
So roughly the same. Were you able to spend that entirely and properly and?
Oh, I'm a past accountant, so
Okay.
he's got all the records.
Is Feed the 479 here? Can you please go to the mic? What do y'all do, ma'am? I mean, I think I can decipher that from the name, but,
We're a food pantry here in Springdale.
and did you ask for money last year?
Yes, sir, we did.
How much did y'all ask for?
How much did we get? Approximately the same amount.
Okay. And what
I
were you
couldn't
able to
tell
do
you
with
right
that
quick.
money last year?
It goes 100% for food.
And so, safe to say you're impacting hundreds of lives in our community.
Tonight, we're open 4 days a week. Tonight, we helped, in the 2 hours that we were open, we helped 110 families with groceries that will feed them what we estimate about 2 weeks. And last night, it was 108 families, and it just goes on every time we're open. And that number just keeps growing month to month to month. Even though we feed Northwest Arkansas, I came ill-prepared to give you some of these statistics. But I think it's very conservative to say at least 75%, maybe 80% of our clientele are all Springdale residents. And our food costs, just like everybody else, constantly rising right now. And not just because we grow every time we're open, seems like, or every month. It doesn't just increase from that, but also the food bank and our food suppliers, they're hit with the same increases cost as the grocery stores are. It hasn't changed a bit. And now with more families being impacted with their, I mean, truth be told, they'll sit in front of you just night after night and tell you, well, it's either put gas in my car to go to work or go to the grocery store. I can't do both.
So you truly believe that you're making our city a better place?
Absolutely. We truly, one of the reasons that we're open in the evenings so often, which is not easy, but in itself, but is to try to help the working, for lack of a better word, the working poor. People who are working and just do not make enough money to keep going.
Well,
Y'all were a big help during the tornado too, by the way.
Thank you.
I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
nonprofits here
Yeah.
were, but I just wanted to take an opportunity to say that.
yes, ma'am, and I appreciate y'all's work. I guess lastly, if the VFW can go up there and tell us what you plan on doing with this money, and if you've ever had any problems in the past spending this. And keep in mind, you got 4 veterans, at least 4, on this council.
Good to hear. Mr. Mayor, Ms. Flores, my name is Wade Tharrington. I'm the post commander of Springdale VFW. I will tell you this, about 3 weeks ago, we found out we are the #1 VFW post in the state of Arkansas. We are the #4 VFW post in the nation. So we will be traveling to Kansas City.
Is that by size or?
By ranking, by membership, community engagement, programs. We'll be going to Kansas City on the 24th to receive that award. We also received it last year. So the money we get from Springdale is in separate accounts. We scrutinize every penny. We keep Excel spreadsheets for audit whenever Dean asks for them. We kind of have a 3-pronged approach for our spending. One is insecurity, food insecurity, lodging insecurity, utility bills, that type of thing. We have a lot of people who go to the VA hospital. The husband or wife gets admitted, and the other spouse doesn't have anywhere to stay. That comes up a lot. The other prong is our Teacher of the Year, Firefighter of the Year, Police Officer of the Year. We give out scholarships for middle school and high school through our Patriots Pen, Voices of Democracy. Our submission for Voices of Democracy finished 5th in the nation about 2 months ago. Won Arkansas, and I can't remember how much money she got. But the other prong is we now, as of about, well, it's been in process for about 4 weeks. The Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts of Springdale are now under our charter. So the Veterans of Foreign Wars post, which is the only post in Washington County, now has the entire scout program in Springdale under our umbrella. We own all their property. We have to pay insurance for them. We have to pay for them to go to Jamboree. We have to do a lot. And this money, like I said, is scrutinized. And I don't know of anybody who has so many tentacles into the community as the VFW does right now. Are there any questions, sir?
No, I appreciate your work and thank y'all for what y'all do. With that being said, as far as my concerns are, well, not even concerns, my summary of this is,
What about the auxiliary?
well, it's the same thing as far as.
That's two different
They do their own set of programs.
Oh, pardon me, I thought you were speaking, okay, go ahead.
Yes, our auxiliary is multi-pronged also. With the pandemic years, as we all know, the economy and people being out of work and so forth, for the veterans involved at that level of need, it's become very great. In 21, we provided what we call go buckets for veterans that were homeless, that were being housed, 34 veterans and families. And we provide them with pantry boxes. So I'm talking, a couple boxes of cereal, all canned goods, but they need a can opener. They need a pot. They're finally in an apartment, maybe, that they can pay for. That's another big issue.
but they don't have towels, they don't have sheets or a pillow. So we get their linens, we get their food, we get their pantry boxes, we get some general household stuff. We do these packages in connection with vetted veterans through the St. Francis House. It's just an amazing partnership between the veterans' needs, getting the homeless veterans off the streets, getting them housed, getting them with enough things. We housed a veteran in April in an apartment that ended up being flooded with the rains recently, and he ended up on the streets again. Of course, he lost everything because the landlord said, you gotta be out. And now we just housed him again last week. Things happen. And in the last couple of years, I don't see it stopping anytime soon, especially when we're dealing with the food insecurity. We buy, in fact, we just got $2,000 worth of food certificates from HARPS with grant money because of the need for the veterans to buy perishables. You know, we get them in the apartment, but they can't get milk. Okay, we don't pack up milk and store it. So a $50 gift certificate at HARPS, as you can imagine, today does not buy what it did last year. And our auxiliary reduced our ask because we know of the issues that the city and balancing the money is important. So we reduced our ask, but the need has increased. So we also, let's see, housing, yes. Housing, we pay for veterans to live in a hotel for a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time. We'll pay for a week, the post pays for a week, because they can't find apartments, they can't find homes in Section 8 or in anything to be able to financially put them under a roof and off the streets. We pay the utility bills. The rare veteran that owns a home, we've helped with mortgage payments when they've lost their job. The list goes on and on.
And thank you as well. So what's been discussed here with this $117,000 that's included in the 13.6% of the overall budget is improving food security, resources of teen moms, helping out veterans and their families, increasing and improving civic engagement, alleviating homelessness, and medical care, among other things. So again, this is one of the few ways, in my opinion, that we can directly help our community with money that's not necessarily coming out of our budget, but it's also, remember, it's federal funding. So while I wanted to move forward with 15%, that's not what's being asked. So I'll make a motion that we move forward with this 13.6% that's being requested.
What is the Hydration for Life? So with Hydration for Life, so a lot of the schools, when the pandemic hit, a lot of the schools stopped using water fountains. They just basically shut them off, covered them up because of the pandemic. So there was an issue with kids with having a heat stroke or having, heat exhaustion, having problems. So Hydration for Life goes into these low to moderate income schools and gives out water bottles and also gives education on hydration and helps these kids understand that you need to have water, you need to drink, and gives out water, basically.
Is that connected to, I know there's is that Kendrick Fincher?
Yes,
Is
it's
that-
Kendrick.
are those connected?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we've got a motion, we don't have a second yet, but I was just gonna say, I hope that someday we can get to the 15% and then like Jeff was talking about when it was 10%, we had some decisions to make to keep it at that. I think we'll have those same decisions to make at 15% over time because we're gonna continue to, the need's not going to go away.
That's right.
And right now, in such hard times, with inflation the way it is and nobody's dollar going as far, I hope we can do this. And when would we, if we wanted to, when we're ready to start addressing next year in the 15, if we wanted to go to that 15% cap, When does that discussion start?
So right around this time next year, we should be getting an award letter from HUD stating how much we'll get. I usually get it about 2 or 3 weeks prior, but I have to wait until I actually get that order, that award letter. When I get that order, then we can move forward with that. That's the only time we can start that.
But we also ask for applications around the first of the year.
Okay.
So that we get all of those in so we know what everybody's asking for by the time we get our allocation money. So we'll know what we have to work with.
January 1st by February 1st
Yeah.
is our asking period. I don't root anyone out. I don't ask specific people. I just throw all the nonprofits that we deal with. We have gotten more because of what happened with COVID, with the CV funds. Because I did reach out to other nonprofits in Springdale, and they found out about our program, so they reached out to us for our help. Also with auditing, Mr. Overton, I make sure that they are scrutinized. I make sure that I double check with the program manager down in Little Rock. He's the HUD representative that I use. I ensure that everything is scrutinized, everything is audited correctly, and it's exactly what they want. Because I don't want to be in a finding.
So do you audit those or is Little Rock?
I audit them. Then what happens every year is they will contact me and do a kind of a virtual audit. I'll basically take their whole packet and I'll basically send it to them and they will look over it. And sometimes I will show up at their offices and look at and see how their physical security is. Because most of the stuff needs to be locked up. So we show up, we look at their offices, we make sure that they are doing the proper, if you want to call it paperwork or admin.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the 13.6%, is that correct?
Thank you, sir.
And the rest of the program.
And the rest of the program, which will be that.
Oh, that's
the
just
housing.
secondary.
As long as you say that, that's fine. We just gotta have the whole thing to happen. It's not just that.
Yeah,
We're ready to go.
which is, that's well over 80% of it.
Nah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, roll call, please.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Carry 6-0.
Thank you, council. Thank you all for being here tonight.
That concludes CDBG.
Thank you, Kevin. Item 14.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Finance Committee, Chairman Jeff Watson.
Thank you, Mayor. Finance Committee has forwarded 4 items to the council. I think all of them were with recommendation. The first one, I'll read the title, a resolution authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement for transportation study and other purposes. The request is for expenditure of $359,850, and there was some discussion about how that was to be paid out of general fund, and then there was some discussion that there might be money in the street department.
Right.
Colby looked into that, told me initially that he thought most of it could be paid for with already budgeted money in the street department, and tonight he's got more to report.
Yeah, council, we're going to be doing a financial update for you soon. I had a revenue expense report presented to me, and we are $2.5 million ahead on our budget. So there's more room than we anticipated in the street budget, and that line item that can cover this is actually more than what this contract calls for. So we can use the street fund to pay for this entirely without having to take any money out of the general fund. So there is money that we could use towards this. Just as a refresher, from last week, this is a professional services agreement with Garver for a transportation study, and Ron Petrie is here. He can go into more detail about what this study consists of. But the main reason we had looked at doing this was to be prepared in the future for projects that we might want to identify that we want to do, or for a future bond program, that we would have projects ready to go, and to eliminate what I call the eeny, meeny, miny, mo method of choosing projects. And we were trying to be shovel ready on as many of these as we can, and we feel like being prepared on this end will help us to save money in the future.
Move the resolution pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any other comments or questions? One. All right. Roll call, please.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Carries 6-0.
Thank you. The second resolution comes from the police department and has to do with monies that's being provided by the state of Arkansas to fund a stipend for full-time law enforcement officers in an amount not to exceed $823,522.50. The title of this resolution is a resolution amending the 2022 budget of the Springdale Police Department to implement the Arkansas Full-Time Law Enforcement Officer Salary Stipend Act of 2022. This was also forwarded with recommendation.
Anybody have any questions about?
I move the resolution pass.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any other comments or questions? Okay, Denise?
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
Yes, ma'am.
Powell.
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Carries 6-0.
Third item has to do with settlement of condemnation lawsuit with First Presbyterian Church. The title of this resolution is a resolution authorizing the city attorney to settle a condemnation lawsuit wherein First Presbyterian Church of Springdale is the defendant, project number 18 BPS 12, tract 2. And this was also forwarded with recommendation.
Move the resolution pass.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Denise?
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
I thought he was gonna talk.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Carries 6-0.
And finally, the fourth item has to do with funding for improvements to Huntsville Avenue Railroad Crossing pursuant to the agreement we had with the railroad. And in fact, I heard from some constituents, some improvements have already been made, so I don't know what that means.
You know what that is, James? Okay,
Somebody
James,
said
why
there
don't
was
you?
some blacktop put down. I don't know
Okay,
who.
I
put it
think they
down.
tried to make it
Okay.
better.
All right.
By they, I mean the railroad, not us.
I'll read the title real quick,
Yeah,
Mayor.
okay.
A
Go ahead.
resolution authorizing funding for repairs, improvements to the Huntsville Avenue Railroad Crossing pursuant to an addendum to a railroad crossing easement agreement with the Arkansas and Missouri Railroad Company, AMRR.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Why don't you tell real quick when it's gonna be? We know now.
Yeah, we're planning on, the railroad's gonna start on the 15th of July, and they're hoping to be wrapped up by Monday, the 18th, and then we'll be milling and paving after that.
Okay.
So hopefully
The
be wrapped up
approaches.
by the 20th.
Okay, good deal. And I'm not picking on you, but, and the way I read the story a few days ago, the story mentioned that the railroad had first requested this liability policy in perpetuity. And I don't know if that all got wrapped up good or if I just read it wrong, but I just want to make clear to everybody, that's off the table, that this agreement that we had struck that. So we're not into the railroad for anything in perpetuity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, okay. All right.
James, I have one question. So do you have any idea what kind of a repair it is that they're planning to do? Is it just purely railroad ties and then asphalt on top of that, or is it something more permanent?
Yeah, they're replacing their entire track patterns with concrete pattern, and then they're gonna have an asphalt base between them, and then we're gonna do the asphalt approach up to them.
It'll be the concrete and steel.
Okay, but there'll still be asphalt between them, or can the whole thing be done concreted?
From what I understand, they're gonna have asphalt between the tracks. They're gonna have the tracks inside a concrete line, and then we'll be putting asphalt between those two concrete panels.
And the railroad will maintain them from now on?
If it's in there right away.
They'll either have to maintain it or we'll have to have an agreement with them to maintain it.
And what other
I mean, it's in
railroad
there.
crossings are we looking at improving?
The next one they have on the list is Sunset.
We mentioned others.
Yes.
I know you're probably interested in Mountain Road. We mentioned that one, we mentioned, Shady Grove Road,
Right.
you know, 412 will be the highway department. They'll be-
Randall Wolby.
Yeah, Randall Wolby was another one. So we're gonna start, and some of those will include the crossing gates. Some of them will just be surface like Huntsville is.
Right.
They got, whatever they're gonna do that we're gonna participate in, they gotta get done within the next 6 years, so. All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Now,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Fujirus.
Yes.
Carry 6-0.
All right, thank you. Item 15 is a discussion on the date for the next committee meeting, scheduled for July 4th. I'm hoping everybody will want to move that.
Move it to the 5th?
Well, the 5th is a big planning commission meeting. We would have to, the 6th, the Wednesday would work great if it works for you all.
Won't be there.
Hmm? Do we have to have a committee meeting?
Do we have items for, other than the building permit? We do?
I think we'll have some committee items. It may not be a long meeting. Okay, and those of you who can't be here, if you can Zoom or, you know, it's not as critical certainly for a committee meeting, but as it is for a council meeting, but. Yeah, yeah, no, don't give it to somebody, but not him.
Don't be on a plane, right?
All right, okay, we'll plan on this, on, Wednesday, July 6th. That's about as far as we can push it and get everything ready for the agenda to go out at the end of that week, so. All right,
Noon Thursday.
yeah, noon Thursday. We may extend that to all day Thursday. I'm usually there. I'll be there. I find those very interesting and they help me. So, yeah, it'll be a long one though. Comments from council?
Mayor,
Yes.
I got a comment.
Okay.
I guess we can go down the line. I got a call today about graffiti on Oriole Street, and I was wondering if we can get that checked out.
On the building, on,
Fences and I
Okay.
think street signs.
if you'll, do you have any addresses?
I haven't gone out there myself. I
Okay.
got-
Across from 1807 Oriole.
All right. You get that, James? Okay.
And then as part of that, I don't know if this belongs to us, but the bridge on 265 near Clear Creek and I forget the other street over there, but it's 265. I don't know if that belongs to the city, but I think
It'll be the highway department.
there's some graffiti over there as well.
Okay. And I noticed some today, James, I was gonna tell you about where Jeff has seen it before on the Dean's Trail. There on where the new street, where Ford Avenue's been extended, right in that area on that, some of that drainage work. There's, it's been hit several times, so wanted you to know about that too.
I saw some on the bridge at Don Tyson and Cambridge.
Okay. All right.
Just a little bit
And
there.
again, anytime you see any, if you'll just, I usually take a picture and send it to James and PD gets to see it that way and they can investigate it also, so. But anyway, all right, any other, I don't, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to see if, at the next committee meeting, if we could just have a discussion concerning speed bumps or whatever. Not so much that necessarily that street that they were talking, but just our general concept on on speed bumps.
We want to make sure, James, you're here and Blake, probably you, just to help us.
Because I know you had mentioned that generally speaking, we have not really promoted them in the past,
Right.
seems like, and I'm not sure everybody knows why.
And we have, if, we did try a couple out on Deering and they're still there.
Yeah,
And
I
if
saw
between
those.
now and then, if y'all want to go out and drive them, if you haven't seen those.
And I wonder if they're not some that might be better than that.
Well,
We put
they may be.
spikes on Don Tyson after 10 o'clock.
Anyway, if we could just
Okay.
have kind of a general discussion on our
Okay.
thoughts on,
Colby, are you taking this down?
Speed
So we'll-
tables, whatever
or
they're
Ernest,
called.
Ernest does this too. He'll make sure we get that down. Thank you, Jeff. All right, I don't have anything. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry, Brian.
So I thought by bringing spouses to the meeting that they would be a little bit not as long. That didn't
Didn't
turn
work.
out to be true.
Didn't work.
But anyway, today's Kevin Floyd's birthday, by the way.
Oh,
So he's 21. We're
Yeah,
glad to have got him.
happy birthday, Kevin.
And I want to take this opportunity to tell my wife happy anniversary. Tomorrow's our 31st wedding anniversary.
Congratulations. Wonderful.
I did.
That's a cheap shot. You could have bought roses.
Yeah, that's good. We'll take her somewhere nice for dinner, at least.
We're going.
Okay.
We're going to this place tomorrow.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you all very much. Good to have you here, Chrissy.